The Sport Australia Hall of Fame represents the pinnacle of Australian sport.
In a nation with a rich history of sporting excellence, only the best of the best are inducted.
The icons who make up the Hall of Fame have distinguished themselves at the highest level.
They are Australia's sporting greats.
Those who join this elite group have not only excelled in their chosen fields, they have done so with dignity,
Integrity.
Courage.
Modesty.
pride,
And ambition.
And tonight we welcome the latest inductees into this incredible group.
as well as elevating two existing members to legend status, the highest individual honour in Australian sport.
Welcome to Heroes and Legends, a celebration of the 2021 Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Tonight we honour the sporting heroes who inspired a nation with their performances and hear the stories behind the moments that captured our imagination. Along with this year's inductees and legends, we also pay tribute to two of the nation's sporting icons as we reveal the winner of the Don Award for the athlete or team who most inspired the nation in 2021, and the inaugural winner of the Dawn Award for a courageous groundbreaker who achieved against the odds and who challenged the status quo. We'll also hear from Ash Barty, Grant Hackett, Nick Farr-Jones and plenty more of your favourites throughout the show. And so, to our first legend, a champion cricketer who dominated the sport through the 70s and 80s, striking fear into the hearts of batsmen all around the world and redefining the art of fast bowling in the process.
Lilly's one of the greatest performances of his career.
Well, the thing that made Dennis such a fine player was the fact that he did not know when to give in. He wanted to bowl all day, every day. His theory was if you bowled all day from one end, you should get 5 of the 10 wickets that fall, and he was fit enough to do it.
He's bowled him! He's bowled him! The last ball of the day, letting him back.
I think I knew Dennis was always going to be very good just by watching him train. He trained harder than anyone, and he deserved all the wickets he got because of the fact that he never left any stone unturned in his preparation.
Drake Trevor's got it. That is the record.
There's no doubt Dennis and I did have a great bond, but when you think about it, we travelled all over Australia and all over the world, and, you know, we talked about the game a heck of a lot, and without Dennis, I wouldn't have got 95 catches come my way, I'm sure.
And he's gone this time. Courtmarsh, oh Lilly.
He's a great teammate. He's just one of those guys that if you get close to Dennis, he really looks after you. He always put the team before himself. My goodness, he had a great heart.
Dennis, what was your reaction like when you heard that you were joining just less than a handful of cricketers, Sir Donald Bradman, Richie Benaud and Keith Miller as a legend in the Sport Australia Hall of Fame?
Well, obviously one of disbelief. You know, didn't even think about it, to tell you the truth, so absolute shock.
When you think back now, I mean, there were so many phases, and I could talk to you about a lot of things, but I want to start at the end in a way. You have come back to the game in many ways. You've coached successfully in a various number of areas and mentored a lot of people, probably a lot of people that people don't know about. Have you enjoyed that aspect of it?
Absolutely. It's a great honour, it's a great feeling, but more than that, it's the satisfaction when you see them, in a lot of cases where they broke down and busted totally, to come back and become a major success. To get there and help them and then see it work is almost as good as having done it yourself.
I mean, you went through pretty early in your international career, Dennis, an enormous setback where you had stress fractures in the vertebrae and no one knew if you could come back. I mean, how important was that and that whole process to making the man that you are now?
In those days, there was never ever any had been discovered in fast bowlers. So I was told that was the end of bowling, don't even think about it. It was startling, it was like a death sentence, you know, to me, sorry, but you know, I just felt this is the end of my world. To be told that you were considered one of the best bowlers in the world at the time, and then all of a sudden you look to ever bowl again, was bloody devastating actually.
And within a few years after that, 3 or 4 years, you are back as a force, a huge force, and the Centenary Test comes along, Dennis, and it was an incredible match and you played such a massive part in our victory. What are your memories of that?
Firstly, making a nuisance of myself and asking the Queen for her autograph. I don't know that went down that well in some places, but she had a smile on her and basically sort of, looked around at 100,000 people and said, I can't sign it for you. You can imagine if she signed it for me, how many other people would ask. So, yeah, that was interesting. Then later on, it was sent through to me by one of her aides, and it takes pride of place. In fact, it's probably one of the only cricket photos I've got in the house. We got bowled out for around 120 odd, I think. That night, the teams were staying together at the same hotel, and I remember clearly walking in, looking to the left before I decided to go to my room and get ready to go for a meal, and looking to the left and seeing most of the English cricketers sitting in the bar and really thinking, this is ours, it's in the bag. You could see they were, really, really pleased about it. That burnt a bit deep, and so, you store that up, and then the last thing I remember, of course, was the great elation of winning, and winning by exactly the same margin as 100 years before. It's just freakish.
And that's it, it's LBW, Alan Knott is out, Lily has struck again to finish off this test match. Been another great performance there by Lily to see the end of England.
Seems such a confident player, Dennis, but did you always feel like you belong? I want to go back to your very first test match. It was in an Ashes series and you weren't selected until the final test. It was the sixth test, in fact, and you bowled extremely well, but did you feel part of it straight away?
No, not at all. No. I mean, there's Bill Lawrie there, there's Ian Chappell. I think 12 months or so before that, I was playing grade cricket only in Perth. Because I also didn't drink, I also felt a little bit of an outsider as well. In those days, there was a drinking culture in cricket, as in probably all sports. And though it wasn't out of control, everyone had a beer. And my full-strength Cokes didn't go down that well, I can tell you.
And then, Dennis, within less than 12 months, there's Australia versus the rest of the world. And the match in Perth, and, there's Sobers and Canai and Lloyd and Gavaskar, etc. And you have this extraordinary match. How much of a difference did that make to you at the time?
That was the start of probably believing that I could do it. It was a very fast wicket, so, it favoured me. But getting those guys out, who were just great names in the sport, and getting them out certainly gave me a lot more confidence, but not still feeling a part of Test cricket, if you know what I mean. So that was to come later.
A great fast bowler needs someone to take a catch, or more than one, and you had a wicket-keeper, who you're so close to in Rodney, and the two Chappells and Dougie that were in that umbrella next to the keeper. It was collectively a great combination with you.
Nothing much went through there. I can't ever remember Rod Marsh dropping a catch. Now, there's not many keepers you could say that about. In some sports, it's individual, obviously, and you're the one that makes it work or doesn't make it work. In batting, it's probably a bit the same, but in bowling, you can't do it without a great lot of teammates who are great catchers. It's just impossible.
So in a way, Dennis, this elevation to legendary status, which so few cricketers have so far achieved, is shared by not just yourself, but other people as well.
You couldn't do it without them. And look, we had some great teams during my career, but more than anything, they were great teams, but they were all great blokes. So, yeah, it was like family, and I still think the thing I missed more than anything when I retired was not the cricket, but those teammates. I made some great friends there.
Dennis, congratulations.
Thanks, mate.
Now to our first inductee of 2021. There are a few athletes who are both universally admired for their sporting achievements and universally loved for the quality of their character. But there's no doubt both apply to cycling superstar Anna Meares.
2 decades ago, Anna Meares became a junior world cycling champion, and she never looked back as she went on to win 18 gold, 12 silver and 10 bronze medals at the Olympic and Commonwealth Games and the World Championships. She gave me my most pleasurable moments as I commentated on almost all of these achievements. Now, it's my great pleasure to say Anna Meares is a member of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Anna, one of the greatest track cyclists the world has ever seen, and now a member of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
11 World Championships, 4 Olympics, a medal in all of them, 2 of them gold. But it's a bronze in Rio that means the most to you.
Now, a big effort required by Anna Meares, and it's gone to the photo. It is either a silver or bronze.
I had been through a whole lot of personal turmoil between London in 2012 and ultimately carrying the flag for Australia in Rio in 2016. Things like my marriage broke down, my coach Gary West was diagnosed with motor neurone disease, and I was physically injured. I was carrying a back injury into Rio that required me to have 12 cortisone injections just to make the start line. So physically I was really quite compromised. Emotionally and mentally I was quite compromised.
And now to go with a gold medal in London, a silver medal in Beijing. She now has a bronze medal in the Keirin.
And how close were you to retiring in between London and Rio, given all that was going on?
Yeah, I called it twice, Hamish, to be honest. The first time I called my manager, Francine Pinnock, and told her I was done. I just was emotionally hurt and choosing to physically hurt myself daily on a training basis to try and make that dream and that goal of Rio happening was just too much. And she convinced me to stick around basically for the simple fact that sport became my saviour and I had somewhere to go every day. My team became my friends and my family. And the second time I rang my coach, Gary West, may he rest in peace. And he knew exactly why I was calling because I didn't get a single word in. He just told me a story about when he quit and the regret he had from the only time that he ever quit. And I'm grateful for his honesty because he kept me on the straight and narrow. And between my coach, my manager and my family, they got me to Rio, and I'm really glad because sometimes I think we as Australians forget how hard it is to be number one and to win in the sporting arena. We have been so spoiled by the success that our sportsmen and women have had in the past that sometimes we devalue and decredit what a silver or a bronze or making a final or even making a team can mean to an athlete and their team and their family. For me, that bronze medal really signified myself, my team, my fight, my spirit.
You've inspired so many people around the world. Australia's been so proud of what you've done. I hope you are too, and congratulations on being inducted into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame. Anna, well done.
Thank you so much, Hamish. Really appreciate it.
Abby Gelmy joins us now. Abs, great to see you. Really looking forward to a couple of your special interviews later in the program.
Yeah, certainly. We've got the Don Award for the most inspiring performance of 2021. I can tell you it's a global superstar. So excited about that. We've also got the Dawn Award presented by none other than Dawn Fraser herself, Haim. So it's going to be big.
Can't wait. So Dawn Fraser, Mark Viduka, Jana Pittman, Ian Thorpe and plenty more. Welcome back. Our next inductee was a footballing prodigy who took the nation and then the world by storm. A global star of the global game, Mark Viduka gave this country's footballers permission to dream about what could be achieved by an Australian on the world stage.
One of the most decorated Australian footballers of all time, Mark Viduka was an international trailblazer, a prolific goal scorer and a genuine star on the world stage, boasting an incredible record at club level, both at home and abroad. He also shone in national colours, appearing 43 times for the Socceroos and captaining the team to its best ever finish in a World Cup in 2006. An outstanding player on the pitch and an even better person off it, Mark Viduka is truly deserving of being inducted into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Mark, a sensational career, deserves recognition. Congratulations on being inducted into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much. It's a real honour to be inducted.
When were you first introduced to the round ball? Were you in nappies?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, from a young age, my dad used to take me to the games in Melbourne at Olympic Park, and I just fell in love with it,
You grew up watching the World Cups and you watched Maradona, and I guess you hoped you'd be there one day, but you needed to qualify to get there. How thankful are you that John Aloisi exists?
Very thankful. I'm very thankful, especially because, I'd missed my penalty before then, and in the end I was very relieved.
Here's Aloisi for a place in the World Cup. He scored!
I think I remember where I was, as I remember where I was this morning when I was having breakfast. I think every Australian remembers where they were watching. Where were you standing? What did you feel and where did you run to?
I was in the middle of the circle, you know, with the rest of the team. Yeah, and to be honest, it was difficult to watch. But when that ball hit the back of the net, I think, you know, there's so much relief.
31 years now, finally, belatedly, Australia is back on the biggest stage.
I was involved in the Iran game and the Uruguay game before that, so it was icing on the cake, really, because those were really two tough games. We didn't get through, and this was, you know, I think it was well deserved.
Up they go, Schwarzer flaps it in, the goal will stand. The ball is in the net and Japan have a goal. Schwarzer with feeling was balked and he sits there in dismay.
And then we got to the World Cup and playing well, but a goal against the grain and suddenly 1-0 down against Japan and then 6 wonderful minutes.
You know, we didn't deserve to be behind, but, you know, that's football and sometimes those things happen. And the longer the game went on, you know, there was more and more chance that they were going to win the game. And then in popped Timmy Cahill and the rest is history.
Long one from Neil and Kawaguchi doesn't get to this and the ball's going in. Australia score for the first time ever in the World Cup finals and the name is Tim Cahill. Cahill, it's his day. Cometh the hour, cometh the man for Australia.
If I said you could go to your favourite time you've ever had on a football field and you could go back there now, where would you be?
I would definitely say kicking the ball in the backyard with my old man. You know, I used to wait every day for him to come back from work, and he would spend hours just kicking the ball in the backyard, and that meant a lot to me.
Mark, congratulations, a wonderful career, duly recognised, now a member of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame forever.
Thank you very much, and I'm very honoured.
It takes a special type of athlete to win one World Championship, let alone 2. But Jana Pittman's story is about so much more than what happened on the track. From overcoming career-threatening injuries to battling the dark side of life in the public eye, Jana passed every test with flying colours to become one of our greats.
A testament to her hard work, determination and lots of natural talent, Jana Pittman is one of Australia's most successful athletes. She won gold at every World Championship level possible. Gold at World Youth, 2 gold at World Junior and 2 gold at Open World Championships, not to mention her 4 gold at Commonwealth Games. Jana was also the first woman to represent Australia at both the Summer and Winter Olympic Games, after successfully making a switch to bobsleigh. A remarkable and deserving athlete, and I am honoured to welcome Jana Pittman into the Sport Australian Hall of Fame.
Dr. Pittman, congratulations on being inducted into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much.
Jana, when you were young, you wanted to be either a doctor or a vet and then realised you could run fast and circled back around to the doctor thing a little later. I
know, it's amazing. It's what I did think I was going to do as a young person. I guess then sport comes along and it's a small part of your life you can be involved in sport with, and then, you know, thankfully I found medicine towards the end of my sports career, because I know a lot of athletes do struggle in that post-retirement phase, so I'm very lucky.
You had such a remarkable career, world champion in the youth, in the juniors, dual world champion in the open company, and then so much heartache along the way. When you look back at your career, what is the overriding emotion?
Oh, look, it changes depending on the day. Most of the time, I'm extremely proud, you know, and I know how lucky I was to represent Australia on so many levels. I guess that elusive gold medal definitely creeps in at times and thinks, oh, you know, why did the Olympics not happen? But in all truth, I do believe that not winning the Olympics is what has driven me to other success in my life, both in the bobsled and in medicine.
In terms of the proudest moment of your career, it follows the birth of your first child. And the planning was down to the day almost. Explain the process from birth and then onwards to the 2007 World Championships.
Not many athletes have a baby during their sports career, but I knew I really wanted to have lots of kids, so I had to kind of get cracking fairly early. And so the 2006 Commonwealth Games in Melbourne had literally just finished. I got married about 4 or 5 days after the championships and then fell pregnant the week after that. So our timing was impeccable and gave us the perfect amount of time to actually still prepare and then race in the Osaka World Championships about 8 months after I had my son Cornelis the following year.
Jana Rawlinson digs deep. Here she goes. Is this going to be a second World Championship? Yes, it is. And Australia's Superman crowns second World Championship.
So how many weeks after having Cornelis were you training again?
In the hospital. I was doing stair sessions and walking up and down the stairs a couple of days after. But look, I'm not the normal, and I don't expect women to actually follow in those footsteps. I had all sorts of pelvic floor issues as a result of that. So be smart with your bodies, ladies.
And that was only 14 years ago, but I've heard you speak recently talking about how foreign it was back then for mothers to be competing. And there were so many questions, and you were sort of fearful of the media. You were training at night to avoid being seen training pregnant.
Sometimes I was genuinely worried, but you've got to remember I was only 23 back then, and it was my job. It was my income, my livelihood, and I did listen very strongly to the doctors at that time. But these days, you know, you've got lots of people out there competing when they're still pregnant and certainly coming back to competitions pretty quickly afterwards. You know, in hindsight, winning that gold medal with my son in my arms, you know, and being able to share that moment as a mother was remarkable.
World champion, a doctor, a mother of 5 and 6 to come. It's been a remarkable life, and now you're a member of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame. Congratulations, and thanks for sharing some time.
Thank you.
Up next, we announce the winner of the Don Award for this year's most inspiring sporting performance. And then later, Steve Monaghetti, Ian Thorpe, Ash Barty, Dawn Fraser, Grant Hackett, and plenty more.
Welcome back to Heroes and Legends, a celebration of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame. It's now time to announce one of the most prestigious prizes in Australian sport, the Don Award. Named after Sir Donald Bradman, it's my pleasure to introduce his son, John Bradman, to tell us a little bit more about the award and to announce this year's winner.
My dad was a great believer in the idea that one of sport's finest qualities was its power to inspire. In honour of this, each year, the Don Award is presented to the individual or team adjudged to have most inspired the nation in the previous 12 months. This year's winner is not just a champion player, he's a champion person, a leader, a star on and off the court, and most of all, an inspiration to all of us. And so it is my great pleasure to announce that the winner of the Don Award for 2021 is Paddy Mills.
The group that we've put together, and we understand we're in the trenches together here trying to accomplish something that we've never done before. So yes, this is our best chance.
The flag bearers for the Australian Olympic team are Kate Campbell and Paddy Mills.
Such an honour and a massive privilege for me as a proud Gugara, Nagyargal and Dawarab Meriam man.
History still beckons in Tokyo as the Boomers face Slovenia for the bronze medal. He carried the flag into the opening ceremony here in Tokyo, and he's carried the Australians on his back here. 40 points now for Paddy Mills, a career high at the Olympics. The Boomers have claimed the bronze medal.
It's our culture at the end of the day. It's our Australian culture, our Aussie spirit.
And I'm joined now by Paddy Mills. Paddy, firstly, congratulations. You're in rarefied air by winning the Don Award. How does it feel to see your name up in lights next to the likes of Ash Barty, Kathy Freedman and Ian Thorpe?
Yeah, thanks, Abby. Look, I never set out to win awards like this. I go about my craft as a professional and learn ways to get better and do so in carrying myself in a way I think I can inspire others. So being recognised in this way to me isn't about who I sit alongside, it's about how I can inspire others with my journey.
Looking back on your Tokyo campaign, from carrying the flag to when that final buzzer went against Slovenia, is there a particular moment that stands out for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't want to compare other moments because each highlighting moment for me is so unique in its own right. From being the flag bearer to winning a medal to standing on the podium to going back to the village and being welcomed by the rest of the athletes. My interactions with the other athletes in support and trying to give advice. I think to compare them isn't right. My interactions and moments with other Australian athletes and how I realised how much impact I was having on them just by that interaction and conversations, I think is you know, are moments for me that I kind of pinch myself to realise, you know, how much of an impact I can have on fellow athletes.
Paddy, what did carrying the flag as the first Indigenous Australian to be given the honour mean to you?
To me, the honour isn't necessarily about me. It's about the impact on unity, identity, being proud of who you are, and expressing that passionately. To the rest of Australia, I think it showed the impact of unity and how far the country has come and how far we have to go. The constant feedback that I received was a feeling of being proud of me, but more impactfully, being proud to see someone who looked like them, talked like them, acted like them, was them, being recognised and given an honourable title. I think this made them even more proud to be who they are, because of a lot of them see themselves in me.
The Boomers have claimed the bronze medal as they defeat Slovenia here by 14 points.
Talk us through the emotion when the medals were presented, because there wasn't a dry eye in the house.
Well, I think the emotions started a lot sooner than the medals, probably before the siren had sounded in the game. You know, the emotion started when the embrace happened with me and Joe Ingles, and being able to soak it all in, I guess. So by the time the medals came around and, you know, we had the opportunity to take a step onto the podium, that was when everything else kind of went black, and it felt like we were the only ones in the arena. It just felt like me and the boys were on a platform and just taking it all in, you know, what we've worked so hard for and poured so much passion into. I think there was a lot of emotions that was running through all of us.
And gee whiz, that man on your screen, boy oh boy, did he come out with something special for his nation today.
Well, Paddy, thank you so much for your time. We know that you're very busy over there in Brooklyn, but we really appreciate it, and congratulations once again.
Yeah, thanks Abby, and thanks for the honour.
Well, Abs, Paddy Mills and the Boomers, almost the highlight of the games for me.
Yeah, he's given us so much. It's actually hard to figure out if he's a better bloke or athlete. He's just great, and we loved having a chat.
Indeed. Our next inductee has the distinction of being as lauded for his work away from the running track as he was on it. And when you're a Commonwealth gold medalist and a four-time Olympian, that's no mean feat. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Monaghetti.
Steve Monaghetti has been an incredible marathon runner and a hugely influential administrator and leader in Australian and world athletics. His achievements and selfless and significant contributions cannot be overstated. His marathon running career was exceptional, finishing with Commonwealth gold, silver and bronze and a World Championship bronze medal. Off the track, he earned even greater respect, inspiring, leading and advocating for the generations of athletes who followed him. His contribution has left a lasting legacy on the sport that we both love, and I'm honoured to welcome Steve Monaghetti into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Well, Steve, congratulations, a member of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Got a nice ring to it, Hamish. Thanks very much, yeah.
You weren't a good runner as a kid?
No, well, athletics probably wasn't going to be my sport. My dad saw that I was interested in sport and thought he'd take me down to Little Athletics Centre, and I had a go at everything. I wasn't all that good at the high jump because I couldn't jump. I couldn't lift the shot put, let alone put it anywhere. And I couldn't sprint, but I was okay at the couple of laps at the end of the competition. But I've been going for about 6 weeks, I think, and a person came over and said, oh, I wouldn't worry about bringing Steve back. He'll never be any good at athletics. 4 Olympics later, I think I've probably done okay, mate.
22 marathons in your career. First marathon, a Commonwealth Games bronze. You won a World Championship bronze starting in marathon and finishing Athens. And your last marathon, the Sydney Olympics.
People wouldn't know. I'd never ran a marathon in Australia up until that point. So my whole career, over 15 years, I'd plied my trade all around the world, had not ran a marathon on Australian soil. So for me, it was fantastic, and we're running along the road and people are yelling out my name all along the whole journey, which was just incredible support, you know, that I'd never had over my career, to think you could have the public really supporting you in the event. I remember coming up Olympic Boulevard and turning into the stadium, and just as you go under the tunnel, no one's allowed in that area, and silence, absolute silence. And all I could hear was the pounding of my feet on the ground. And I said, legs, it's been an incredible journey. I'm never going to do this to you ever again. Let's enjoy this last 500 metres. It's just been something really special. And out I went, got a good reception.
You can see the elation, the satisfaction, the pride on Steve's face as he runs the last 200 metres of his marathon career. A great career.
I reckon this is his proudest moment. At home, in front of the Aussies, in the top 10.
You know, we don't get to retire in front of 120,000 people very often, and I had that opportunity. It was fantastic. As a special treat, I had my mum and dad up there as well. And one thing I'll say home about my parents, they never pushed, they supported. There was never any expectation. So as a thank you, I wanted them in the stadium that last night so that they could see me finish my career. And I'd spoken to Mum the night before and said, where are you sitting? She said, oh, just under the cauldron where we saw Kathy on the other night. I said, yeah, great, I know where that is. So I ran around the back straight and I turned, looked up at the cauldron, and I thought, well, there's Mum and Dad, and I just gave them a wave. And the satisfaction of being able to thank your parents for allowing you to have this career was amazing, and so I treasure that moment. Then I ran down, crossed the finish line. Athletics Australia, in their wisdom, realised I was having this fantastic last run, got Mum and Dad from out of their seats, so they were right there on the finish line. So 20 years of planning, I've turned and I've waved to my Mum and Dad. They weren't even sitting in those seats home. They waved to the empty seats. Waved to the empty seats that were up there. So if anyone was up in those seats, that wave was just for you.
You've won the green and gold superbly. We've cheered for you all the way along. Congratulations on your career and well done on being inducted into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
It's a great honour. I'm humbled. Thanks, Hamish.
Ian Thorpe, Ash Barty, Jamie Dwyer and plenty more still to come on Heroes and Legends. But as we go to the break, the Sport Australia Hall of Fame Scholarship and Mentoring Program has helped over 140 young athletes achieve their dreams since 2006. And at this year's Tokyo Olympics and Paralympics, 32 current and former scholarship holders did their mentors and their nation very proud.
But they're lifting the Australians, and it's green and gold, 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 gold to Jean van der Westhuizen and Thomas Green.
The Australian Brendan Smith putting in a late charge, and bronze to the Australian. Wow!
Go Amanda, 2.69 faster, so it's a gold medal to Amanda Reid.
Can Pearce hold on for third?
Yes.
He does! And he's won a bronze medal.
And Clifford gets the silver, and that's a victory.
What will Dedekin come home with? It's another bronze.
The win goes to Australia. They've taken the bronze medal.
The emotion that's coming from the face of Luke Clapp.
The Australian men's basketball team's crusade to stand on the Olympic podium has finally delivered. The Boomers have claimed the bronze medal.
Welcome back to Heroes and Legends, a celebration of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame. Our next inductee won every major team and individual accolade the sport of hockey had to offer. One of the Kookaburra's most respected and successful players and captains. He's, of course, Jamie Dwyer.
One of the world's greatest ever hockey players, Jamie Dwyer is an Olympic gold medalist, world champion and 5-time World Player of the Year. During his 365-game international career, he scored 243 goals and was both an outstanding player and an exceptional leader, captaining his country with distinction while tormenting opposition defences with his speed, skill and incredible determination. He's someone I'm proud to call a friend, and I'm proud to welcome him as a fellow member of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Well, Jamie, 365 test caps, 243 goals, and now a member of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm very honoured to be awarded this award, so come as a surprise, but yeah, it's pretty awesome.
At the very start, Jamie, you were an Olympic obsessive. That's your words, not mine. You were chucking sickies to avoid school and watch the Olympics.
I do remember in '92, when I was 13 years of age, I I used to pretend I was sick and go to my nana and granddad's place, and they'd let me watch television, and there was nothing wrong with me. I just wanted to watch the Olympics, and from that moment on, that was always my dream. My goal was to compete at the Olympic Games, and when I look back on it, what I achieved, I'm very proud of it.
From chucking sickies in 1992 to winning gold in 2004, it was just 12 years later, but you're almost not able to compete at Athens. Explain what happened in the year prior and why you're so proud of what happened in 04.
At the major tournament in 2003, we were the first game against Pakistan. First 10 minutes, I had a one-on-one with the keeper, and he hit me and tore my ACL. And the doctor had a look at my knee and said, look, you're out for at least a year, and it's going to be a struggle to come back as fit and as good as what you were. So I came back to Australia. I had the operation exactly 11 months before the first game. It took me 6-7 months before I could come back on the field, and I wasn't great. I was, well below where I was before I had the injury, and then I got selected in the Olympic team, which I thought I was a little bit lucky, but I was very grateful. And then once I got over to Athens in 2004, I was like, yeah, I've got nothing to lose. Let's just go enjoy this Olympic experience.
As a starry-eyed boy, you think about representing Australia. To think about scoring the winning goal in the Olympic final?
Yeah, I did practice it when I was younger. Actually, I remember mucking around with some friends and pretending I was in the Olympic Games gold medal and scoring a goal. But the way it all panned out that whole year, thinking that I wasn't going to make the team, to making it, to playing a really good tournament, scoring the golden goal, it just all happened. It was meant to be.
Livermore. Dwyer! It's in!
It's fantastic! Australia have won! They've got the gold medal!
I trusted my teammates, trusted my coach, and everything fell into place over there, and we come home with the first gold medal that the Australian men's team has ever won.
One of the most famous and long-lasting sporting hoodoos in Australian history has finally been laid to rest.
Jamie Dwyer is the hero.
For me, the journey was difficult. It was really hard, but when you have success at winning Olympics and World Cups, that really makes it worthwhile. And I wasn't about playing the most games for Australia or scoring the most goals. What I wanted to achieve was to win major tournaments, and to do that was something that I look back on and I'm very proud of what I've achieved.
Jamie, you're one of the greatest players that's ever played the game. We're so pleased you played for Australia in the green and gold. You represented us brilliantly. Congratulations on being a member of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much.
To appear at one Paralympic Games is a special achievement for any athlete. To appear at 12, well, that's quite simply remarkable. Our next inductee, Libby Kosmala, did just that and plenty more in an astonishing career that spanned more than 5 decades.
A pioneer of Paralympic sport, Libby Kosmala competed at an incredible 12 Paralympic Games, winning 13 medals, including 9 gold in swimming and, of course, the sport in which she dominated, shooting. An enduring presence in so many Australian Paralympic teams, Libby was a constant inspiration for myself and countless others, and since her retirement has continued to be a tireless advocate for disability rights. I'm thrilled and absolutely honoured to welcome Libby Kosmala to the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Libby, great to see you, a member of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Hamish. Yes, it's very exciting, wonderful.
Tell me, how again did you get involved in sport?
I've come from a family that plays sport, my sisters and brothers and my parents, and when I was about 20 years of age, someone said to me, why don't you go and have a go at wheelchair sport? So I went out and had a go, and it was unbelievable.
Libby, your first Paralympics was in 1972. You went as a swimmer and as an athlete. That's a long way from rifle shooting.
That's right. Well, I did athletics and swimming and came home with, I think, with a bronze medal from those games. And then I was introduced to rifle shooting as well, because we've been invited to go to a rifle range to learn how people with disability could become a rifle shooter. I'd never held a rifle before. I didn't even know how to load it, let alone where to hold it, let alone where to squeeze the trigger. And I said, what do I have to shoot? And they said, oh, just 20 metres away is that little black hole there. Well, I shot it and they brought the target back and laughed and said, you've got right in the very, very middle. Oh, and they all laughed, said, oh, that was a fluke. And I said, well, can I have another go? They said, yeah, sure. So I had another go, and they put the same target back on the spot, and I shot that one, and it went straight through the first hole. They couldn't believe it. They said, you are a natural rifle shooter.
What year was that, Libby, that you fired a rifle for the first time?
73, 74, and then 76 I went to the Paralympics in Toronto, Canada, and came home with the gold medal against all comers, men and women. And I have it right here with me right now.
So we'd better get it in frame while you tell the story, because in 1976 you shot on the second day and you sat on top of the leaderboard, and all the officials refused to believe that a female from Australia could be leading. What ensued over the next 48 hours was quite remarkable.
It was remarkable. I had to go back to the officials for them to see how I held the rifle and how I shot. And I showed them all, and they agreed she is the winner. And this is the medal right here.
Libby, 1988 was a remarkable Paralympics. Your husband, Stan, was also competing. How many gold medals did you leave with between the two of you?
We left with 4. 1 from Stan and 3 from me.
You completed your final shots, Libby, and then had to dump your gear and head over to the lawn bowls.
That's right, because the rifle range in the lawn bowl in Green was not very far away, and they told me, your husband's almost bowling his last ball, you better go down and see him. So I did, I went down and watched, and he got the gold medal. So they were wonderful games. Particularly having Stan there with me, it was pretty remarkable.
12 Paralympics, 13 medals, 9 of them gold, and now a member of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame. Libby, congratulations, great to speak to you.
Thank you very much, Hamish.
Up next, Dawn Fraser joins us to announce the inaugural winner of the award named in her honour.
I'm Nick Farr-Jones. I'm a member of the Sports Australia Hall of Fame, and I'm here with one of my great mates, Ben. Great to see you. And I had the privilege back in 2018 as being selected to mentor this young guy.
Just knowing that you were going to be my mentor, knowing how much of an Australian legend you are, and growing up hearing stories about Nick Farr-Jones, and then me having the privilege to be with him and get mentored and have guidance under you, it was a real opportunity that I wanted to take up and use to my absolute limit.
The whole concept of the mentoring program is that you get someone from a different sport, and whether it's getting over a bad performance, whether it's things like understanding process.
To tap into a Australian legend like yourself was...
Stop mentioning that word. I'm just a washed up old rugby player.
No, you got to give yourself credit, come on. There's a lot of behind the work scenes that people don't see, and that's really where you helped me execute everything that I wanted to, and having that was awesome, and it best prepared me, and I feel very ready for the upcoming Beijing 2022 Paralympic Games. We are going to stay in touch for a long time.
Absolutely.
And so, it's just amazing, and thank you so much for all your help as well. Because you really excel my career.
What a brilliant example of the type of relationship which can be formed through the Sport Australia Hall of Fame Scholarship and Mentoring Program, where some of our biggest names are paired with stars of the future to share their support, wisdom and experience. The program is proudly supported by Sport Australia and the AIS, and more information can be found on the Sport Australia Hall of Fame website. Now, in 2021, a new award has been introduced to honour one of the country's finest ever athletes, a genuine sporting icon, the great Dawn Fraser. Now, Dawn was the first ever swimmer to win 3 successive Olympic golds in the same event. And the Dawn Award recognises a courageous groundbreaker who achieved success against the odds and challenged the status quo. I'm joined now by the legend herself, and Dawn, it must be a tremendous feeling to have this award named in your honour.
Oh, it absolutely is, Abby. I just can't tell you, when John Bertram phoned me, I couldn't talk to him. I said, JB, I'm going to have to call you back. I was a blubbering idiot, but I still go to goosebumps talking about it. It's just a beautiful honour.
It's such a deserving honour, and the award does acknowledge courage, bravery and challenging the status quo. How do you think those qualities helped you in your career?
Well, I think the bravery comes from the fact that I fought the Australian Swimming Union for quite a number of years to regain my amateur status back, and I think I was classed as an outlaw then, but my bravery put me through that because, you know, I wanted to swim. I wanted to swim and represent my club. I wasn't thinking about Australia at the time, but they made me think more about it, and I think, you know, that's where my bravery came from.
It's time now to announce the winner of the inaugural Dawn Award, and Dawn, who better to have the honours?
You know, it gives me great honour for the Sport Australia Hall of Fame to announce the inaugural winner of the Dawn Award. It's a person that I have watched through her career. I've watched the courageousness of her and the way that she has performed on the sporting arena, and no other than the great Yvonne Goolagong-Cawley.
A huge congratulations to Yvonne, such a deserving winner. She's unable to join us this evening, unfortunately, but Dawn, I hear you're going to celebrate.
Yes, we will celebrate. As you know, she's pretty shy to give interviews on television or radio, and we're just going to catch up and hopefully have a beautiful lunch and a great celebration.
Well, Dawn, it's a lunch we'd all love to be at. Enjoy that. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, a big congratulations to Yvonne.
Thank you very much, Abby. Pass that on.
It's hard to think of a more fitting or deserving winner than Yvonne. And while she wasn't able to join us, there is someone who is perfectly placed to tell her story.
Yvonne was an incredible athlete, but more than that, she's been an enormous inspiration to generations of Australians, and to me as a mentor and a friend. I cannot think of anyone more deserving of winning the inaugural Dawn Award. She played her career with courage, she played it with passion, with grace, and she challenged the status quo in what was a really challenging time for women in sport, and the way that she was able to provide a path for others to dare to dream is absolutely remarkable. Yvonne's tennis journey didn't only inspire me as a young girl growing up, but it's also inspired so many people to go out there and chase their dreams. So I think so many people are proud of her, and she has inspired so many.
And it's a lovely tribute to one of your heroines, your mentors, Yvonne Goolagong-Cawley. She means a lot to you.
She does. I hope I made Yvonne proud.
No, you did.
After winning Wimbledon this year, I have such a deep connection with Yvonne, and I was so proud to mention her in my speech, just because I felt like we have a connection with our family and our culture, and now we've got this connection through our profession and through Wimbledon. I really do just hope that I made her proud out there. Yvonne, you are one of a kind. You have achieved greatness on the court, and you have inspired so many people off the court. You have made tennis in our nation so much better. Congratulations on the inaugural Dawn Award.
There's plenty more still ahead on Heroes and Legends, but as we go to the break, we pay tribute to those members of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame who have recently passed away.
Welcome back. Our next inductee was one of the leading lights in an Australian women's cricket team that dominated the game in the 90s and 2000s. A fearless and fearsome batter, as well as a crafty medium-pace bowler, Karen Rolton was one of the genuine stars of the game.
A record-breaking, run-making machine, Karen Rolton is one of Australia's greatest ever cricketers. Along with an incredible batting record across all three formats, including a century in a World Cup final and a then record test score of 209 not out. She also claimed over 100 international wickets. Karen Rolton is a teammate, a national captain and vice-captain, a great competitor, a friend and one of the all-time greats. And now she's a member of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Karen, Sport Australia Hall of Fame inductee. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. Fantastic honour, and a lot of fantastic sports people that have been given this honour, so I'm just happy to be one of them.
When did you fall in love with cricket?
It was very early on. I used to play a lot of cricket with my mum and dad and my brother as well, and you know, where I grew up we had lots of boys, I guess, around me. That's all I grew up with. We had a lot of good battles in the backyard.
There's 2 World Cup finals we're going to talk about. Which would you like to talk about first?
I think we might go the 2000 one.
Rip the Band-Aid off?
Yeah, it was a tough one. We got to the final. It was against New Zealand. Myself and another great batter for Australia, Lisa Kitely, were the two leading run scorers for the tournament. And I think we were both out within the first 2 or 3 overs.
Pick up and a throw, and that's magnificent.
We just watched in the pavilion the rest of the game. You know, I probably wish in the end we lost by 20, 30 runs, but, you know, we lost by 4 runs. It was in the last over of the day as well.
New Zealand won the World Cup 2000!
It was, yeah, pretty gut-wrenching, really. I think it's one of the first times I cried in cricket too.
Hello and welcome to Supersport Park in Centurion for the final of the 8th Women's Cricket World Cup. It's Australia up against India.
So 2005, you play India in the final in South Africa. Memories of 2000 in your mind? Things were very different.
Very different. I remember early on I got hit on the pad a few times and I was like, oh no, here we go again. But as the day got on, had a few partnerships with Lisa Sthalekar and Melanie Jones, and lucky enough to get a winning score and, you know, make 100 myself.
Well, straight over cover, that's it. Karen Rolton has scored 100 in the World Cup final. Fantastic innings by her.
So 215, the Indians went into bat and you knew early how the day was going to play out. I think 5 of their top 6 out for less than 10.
Yeah, it was, yeah, I think everything just went right for us. But I think with, you know, maybe 10 overs to go, it was like, okay, you could relax a little bit and try to enjoy it as much as you could.
And that's it. That's it. Nitschke bowls the ball that gives Australia victory. They win the World Cup. They win the glory. They are happy. What a wonderful effort.
How much do you think the loss in 2000 shaped you mentally for the final in 2005?
Yeah, massively. I guess I love the big moments and you train for that. But I guess just overall I was just happy that the team won and we could, you know, forget about 2000.
From the backyard with neighbours, with swing balls to World Cup final wins and double tons. Congratulations, you're a member of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Yeah, thank you, Hamish.
There are very few figures who changed the course of their sports history, but water polo great Tom Hoad certainly did that in Australia. As a player and a coach, he helped the national team compete with the world's best for the first time, and he did so with grace, dignity and humility.
A towering figure in Australian water polo, Tom Hoad has been a tireless contributor to the sport for more than 6 decades. Representing his nation at 8 Olympics as a player and coach, Tom's training methods, tactics and administration later in his career transformed the sport both in and out of the water, earning him the nickname Mr. Water Polo. It's my great honour to welcome Tom Hoad to the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Tom, congratulations on being inducted into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Thanks very much, Hamish.
There's not many people that can say they changed the way the players played, the coaches coached, or the administrators administrated, but you can with water polo.
No, I think that's a big call. We certainly tried. When I first began, I was a young guy, watched the Olympic Games in Melbourne, and one of the benefits of that was that many expatriate Hungarians and Yugoslavs stayed on, and the competition in Melbourne immediately post the Olympic Games in 1956 was as good as there was in the world. We heard about it. We had never won anything in interstate over here in Western Australia. We were training in the Swan River, and we brought Anton Bolvari, who was a dual gold medalist from Hungary, to beat my first coach over here in the A grade, and it was a fantastic learning experience for us. Western Australia won its first national title in '59 when he was the coach and played for us.
A fabulous player, a wonderful administrator. How were you as a coach and what were the experiences like?
I was the first Westerner to get permission to live in Hungary and study water polo for 3 months, and it was a fabulous experience. And then I came back to Australia and said, we cannot compete internationally until we start teaching our young kids to skills at 10, like we do in cricket and footy, in every other sport.
From all of your time in water polo, what are you most proud of achieving?
I think 84, where in the period Italy won the World Championships, 1978, and then at 80 in Moscow, we beat them for 7th place. We progressed bit by bit. And then in the Olympic Games in Los Angeles, We put Italy out of the competition and then drew for 4th place with Spain and 5th on the countback. So we made progress and we achieved a lot by getting up into the ranks of international water polo. So I think that was progress. It took a long time and a lot of hard work.
Tom, thank you for sharing some stories today and congratulations on being inducted into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much, Hamish. Thank you.
Up next, another legend will be named, the highest sporting honour that can be bestowed on an Australian. But as we go to the break, this year was your chance to get involved in the Sport Australia Hall of Fame celebrations by voting for the News Corp Magic Moment. From a shortlist of 20 of the most memorable Australian sporting moments of the past 60 years, the 2021 Sport Australia Hall of Fame moment was chosen via a national News Corp poll. And after thousands of votes, there could only be one winner.
Great race about to begin. Set. They're off. Coming on down the outside, Prince of Penzance for Michelle Payne. Prince of Penzance, it's history at Flemington, Michelle Payne.
What an incredible chapter has been written here in the history of the great race.
Have a look at Stevie.
This is something truly extraordinary. She's a star, Michelle Payne.
To the winning jockey, the first female to steer the winner home. Let's hear it for Michelle Payne.
You know, it's a very male-dominated sport and people think we're not strong enough and all the rest of it, blah, blah, blah. But I'm so glad to win the Melbourne Cup and hopefully it'll help female jockeys from now on to get more of a go.
The stuff of legend. There was a point in time when Ian was age 14 that I knew we were looking at someone who was going to be great within the sport of swimming. And we competed in the men's 400 metre freestyle, and I remember touching the wall, and the time that I did actually would have won the Olympics the year before, so everyone was a little bit taken back by that. But what I was taken back by was when I looked up on the scoreboard and I saw this 14-year-old in 2nd place. The real question from there was, how much can this guy improve? And there's no doubt from there he just got stronger and faster. He's got it beaten. Thorpe is coming in. Gold and a world record. Ian Thorpe.
The birth of a legend.
There are so many strengths to Ian Thorpe as a swimmer. He just got better and better over time. Any weakness that he saw in an event, every time you came back to race him and you went to exploit that, he'd done something about it. So he was just a phenomenal competitor. The one thing that really stands out with me, with Ian on a personal level, is just how good a teammate he was. I can use many examples where over time he contributed to the team both in and out of the water. And just even when the lifts were broken at the Athens Olympics, I have one of my big races, the men's 1500 metre freestyle coming up, and the guy was running to the dining hall for me because I wouldn't go down all the flights of stairs because the lifts were broken, and bringing food back, so I didn't actually have to leave the apartment in the village. He was just a great supportive guy, a great teammate. And I'll just always remember, you know, there's not one or two standout performances in his career. Every single time that guy got up on the blocks, there was something new, there was something phenomenal, and there was always history being made.
Ian, congratulations. It's the highest honour in sport. What's your reaction?
Look, it's wonderful. You know, what becomes the significance of it is the great people that we have that have won this previously to myself, and how they've made up Australian sporting folklore and really given us this depth of people that we've admired through generations of Australians, and hopefully can continue to inspire generations for years to come.
When I look back at your career, and it's so varied and so vast and so successful, but a lot of it was when you were so young. I mean, do you think about that much now?
I think about it more now, Bruce, you know, that I was extremely young. And at the time, I didn't feel that way. It's that thing that when you're a teenager, you believe that you can do anything, and you already think that you're an adult. You know, my last Olympics, I was 21, probably arguably at my best, and, you know, could have gone to a couple more Olympics had I chosen to.
And you mentioned at 21 in your final Olympics, your second Olympics, it brings to mind the 200 metre freestyle where you defeated Peter van den Hoogenband, Michael Phelps and Grant Hackett, amongst others. I mean, when you look back at all those great achievements, does that one of the ones that stands out to you?
It is for me. The 200 freestyle was billed as the race of the century. We had 5 or 6 Olympic champions all vying for that gold medal in that race. You know, in Sydney, I consider the 200 freestyle the only race that I've ever lost in my career. This was the one that I really felt that I missed out on. So for me, I went into it, and even behind the blocks, I knew I'd done the training, and so I was quite confident in what I'd be able to do. And I remember the turn in Sydney where I pushed off the wall, and I expected to go, and I had nothing to give. And at that moment, at the same time in Athens, when I hit that wall, I knew when I pushed off that there was plenty left in the tank, and that I'd really been able to execute this race in the way that I wanted to.
Corp has Van and Hugenman for the moment. Phelps can't get to them. This is the one that Thorpe's been waiting 4 years for, and he's going to get it. And he's going to do it in magnificent fashion. The first Australian athlete in 108 years to win 5 gold medals in any Olympic sport.
One of the important races was in Berlin, and that was at about the time where the German coach had made some very strong accusations about you and growth hormones, which must have been so difficult.
What happened in Berlin, I had been accused by the head coach of the German team for human growth hormones because he'd read a study that said that usually people that take them have, larger hands and feet. And Don Talbot, the head coach, in all of his years, he'd never offered an athlete to be able to withdraw themselves from a race. And I said to him after he offered it to me, I will race this race tonight, and I'll perform well.
You swam very successfully that night in that final and had a great result. And the response from your competitors that night?
When I was presented with my gold medal, all of the swimmers walked down onto the pool deck to actually applaud me for this. And they broke their schedules when they had races that they're about to swim to show their support for me and basically saying, we know this is a clean athlete and we support you. And that meant the world to me and still does.
And of course, Sydney turned out to be a sensational event. On the very first night of competition, you win the 400 metre freestyle, break the world record. And then you've got to get yourself organised for the 4x100. And there've been such a build-up here, and with the break their guitars, etc., Gary Hall Jr. It was in many ways the swimming event of Sydney.
The loudest cheer I've ever heard from a crowd was actually when I did dive in. And there's a beautiful moment when in swimming, when you go from diving in and you hear the roar of the crowd to going underneath the water where it goes to silence. Then when you come back up and you come out of the streamline, you hear a crowd and a hum and a roar from the crowd. And what happened was that roar continued to 25, and just before the 50 metres mark, it kind of sounded like a collective gasp or a sigh that I was just too far behind. And for the first time in the race, off that turn and pushing off, I actually had a good turn. And I was able to realise I'm not out of the game. And with 25 to go, that crowd started to get behind me and started that roar. And then by the time we got to around 10 metres to go, they're screaming because it's the first time that I look like I might be able to overcome what Gary Hall's put out there and be able to deliver it for Australia.
Thorpe's in front, Thorpe and Hall, Thorpe goes in! Australia win! New world record! It is the stuff of legend.
The Ian Thorpe swimmer, so in person, who do you think about at this very moment who helped to shape all of this for you?
I think it's more shaping of the person than the swimmer. That certainly began with my family and with my parents. The sacrifices that they made to their own lives to give myself, my sister who was swimming at the time as well, the opportunity as young people where we could go to training and be able to do the work. I also look at, my friends' support to keeping me sane during all of this. These coaches, their support staff, there's a weight trainer, there's a doctor, there's a chiropractor, there's a physio. In all of this, it's amazing how people are willing to give up part of themselves to be able to create the perfect version of yourself. And you feel as though the medals are shared in their experience as well.
You've made a lot of people proud over the years. You should be tonight. Congratulations, Ian.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce, and congratulations to Ian Thorpe and everyone who's been honoured tonight. I'm now joined by the chair of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame and one of its legends, John Bertrand. John, what a celebration of Australian sporting excellence.
Absolutely, and what a pleasure and honour to be involved. You know, the who's who of sport in this country, one can go no higher.
I'm sure there's plenty of people you'd like to thank on behalf of the Sport Australia Hall of Fame.
Well, in particular, Sport Australia for really getting behind our fantastic scholarship and mentoring program, and our friends, of course, at the AIS, Victoria University, who we do some incredible work with, particularly integrity forums and other activations. Sportscover, wonderful supporters of the Chairs Roundtable, and many within the sporting industry. The team at News Corp for the Hall of Fame moments, Channel 7, and of course Lewis Martin for the opportunity to share these incredible stories to the nation. And of course yourself, Hamish, Abby and Bruce, fantastic interviews. Thank you very much.
It's been an absolute privilege, John. Thank you to you, and congratulations to everyone who was honoured as part of Heroes and Legends, a celebration of the 2021 Sport Australia Hall of Fame.